the two commissioners who are running a little late can join us, that'd be great. Is Mr. Sidaway planning to attend? No, he's not either?
Mike and Steve are at a conference in Utah.
All right, so we have the thumbs up. All right, I'd like to officially start the Meridian Parks and Recreation Commission meeting for Wednesday, August 14th, 2019. It is 5:30 PM on the dot, and we are ready to get started. So first, I'd like to start with a roll call. Rachel, can you call roll?
Yes, thank you. Jessica West,
Present.
Tom Gelsomino,
Present.
Keith Bevan,
Present.
Jennifer Bobo,
Present.
Joe Greer,
Present.
Abby Hutchins is absent, Michelle Jensen,
Present.
John Nesmith is absent, and Craig Steele is joining us momentarily.
Look at that timing. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel. First item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda for last month's meeting.
Madam President.
For tonight's meeting, I'm sorry.
Madam President,
Commissioner Gelsomino?
I move that we adopt the agenda for tonight's meeting.
A second?
Second.
Oh.
Commissioner Greer seconded that motion. Can I get a vote? Who all is in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion granted.
Madam President,
Commissioner Gelsomino?
could we have the record reflect Commissioner Nesmith as being present for this meeting, please?
Noted, thank you.
All right, item number 3 on the agenda, approval of the minutes for our July 10th regular meeting.
Madam President,
Commissioner Steele?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve tonight's, is it the agenda?
Minutes.
Oh, the minutes from last month?
Seconded.
So Commissioner Steele made the motion, Commissioner Gelsomino seconded. Can I get a vote? Who all is in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion granted. All right, this is exciting. We're on to our first set of announcements. Rachel, did you have something you wanted to add?
No, thank you.
All right, so first off, we're going to welcome our MPR Recreation Manager, Mr. Garrett White. This is really exciting. We're all familiar with your face, but you have a promoted to a new role, and we're really excited to be working with you and hearing your monthly updates and information that you have to have. So that's really exciting. Would you like to say a few words, or are you ready to roll?
I'm ready to roll. I know I got big shoes to fill with Colin stepping out, but I got his number and his wife's phone number and everything else, so I should be good to go.
Yeah. We had no doubt you'd be well prepared, so
Yeah.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right. The NPR Facilities Tour, September 11th. Ms. Rachel Myers.
Yes, thank you, Madam President and Commissioners. Just wanted to let you know that we are gearing up for our annual facilities tour. It's scheduled for Wednesday, September 11th. We are still working on the tour route. We do have a draft that we can propose to you tonight, and then if you want to maybe provide any feedback, or if there's any maybe other sites that you might be interested in viewing, you can just let us know. So the tour route, we would start at Discovery Park. We would have dinner there, hop on the bus, and kind of travel around some of the other sites. So then our first stop would be the home court. Then we would continue to Fuller Park, and then the community center, and then time allowing, possibly Kleiner Park, and then heading back to Discovery Park. So
Okay. So I take it we'll all just be being toured by bus? Is that the plan? And
Yes,
we'll
by
go
bus.
along the drive like we previously have done in years past?
right.
Perfect. Are there any questions or concerns for any of the commissioners?
Madam President, maybe I didn't hear, is it normal time? Normal?
Yes, and this would replace our meeting here in council chambers, and yes, it would be, well, typically it starts, there's like a meet and greet between 5:15, 5:30-ish, and then we would start the meeting at 5:30, the tour at 5:30, so that's kind of the tentative plan for now, so, yeah.
All right. No other further questions or concerns from the commissioner? That sounds great, Rachel.
Thank you.
Next up are Mrs. Shelley Houston for upcoming events.
Hello, commissioners. How are you? I killed a few trees this time, but there's some events I want you to see, and maybe once you've soaked in the information or added these things to your calendar, maybe you could post them at your workplaces or church or school or anywhere you have access to people that might be interested. Of course, on top's our calendar of events. As I got going, there's just more and more and more, especially with Meridian Art Week. So it'll have its own publicity coming out very soon. But what I would call to your greatest attention would probably be our next big event, which is our 9th annual Meridian Community Block Party. That's the blue flyer. That's the big festival for families that we hold in Kleiner Park each year. It'll go Saturday, September 7th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's free for families to attend. Games, booths, activities, demo, entertainment, food trucks. It's kind of our end of summer celebration. This year we're doing something a little different. We want to kind of be saucy. We're having a small mini dog fair within the larger fair to kind of be over off by itself. We're calling it the Community Bark Party, appropriately. And so we've already got 15 or 16 dog-related, service and product vendors committed, and we're still rounding up more. So within the larger block party, will be a little bark party. So that's a little fresh this year. I'm not sure what I'll have. Renee's pulling all sorts of surprises out of her hat in terms of special entertainment and activities. So you'll be hearing a lot about that in the coming few weeks. It's sneaking up fast. Another favorite event is, of course, Concerts on Broadway. It's not ours, it's more the Arts Commission, but I know it's popular and it takes place here in the plaza. You'll remember they used to be in June, July, and August. This year we had a different music festival kind of atmosphere on the Thursday nights here at City Hall. So these Concerts on Broadway, as we know them, are now taking place September 7th, September 21st, and October 5th. And we're going to start with High Street, those really loud, they used to wear the zoot suits, the party band, and then Big Wow, and then we'll end with Kevin Kirk and Onomatopoeia. He's a world-class jazz pianist. So just let people know it's back. One other change besides the time of the year is they're starting earlier in the day. Opening act at 2:30, and then the headliners at 3. The thought is people might come and hear the music and then stick around downtown and eat at a local restaurant or something to help stimulate downtown Meridian. Last but not least, the new the activity guide. Is that the cutest picture on the cover? I did not take it, but I think it's so cute. Anyhow, our summer classes and camps are pretty much wrapping up in the sports leagues, and then I see you, Miss Greer. And then, so our new classes will kick into gear soon. We're sniggering because she's pointing out that we already have a Christmas in Meridian ad. Oh, you got to know how that hurts. But really, planning's already underway for our Christmas activities, and dates are chosen for our various events. So we're just cooking and booking still. Nothing slows us down. And like I say, Meridian Art Week's another fun one. Remember, that's when people can make the little art treasures and hide them around downtown. And there's a big chalk art competition and lots of fun things. So watch for Meridian Art Week as well. Questions, comments, concerns?
Madam President? Shelley, do you need someone at the block party? Do you guys have everybody to man
Oh,
the
if
table?
you know what? We are going to have an information booth, like a little marketing/information table that will have the Parks and Rec banner. That would be really nice. That way it frees me up to go and take some photos or just run some little honeydew errands within the event.
Okay.
So that is not a bad idea. If any of you would like to come, and I don't expect you to sit there from 10 to 5, but any of you would like to stop and maybe take a turn, maybe I'll send out an email, and if there's a couple hours you want to come and sit, it's pretty good people watching, and there's good food nearby. So, and you can pet some cute dogs probably. That would be really nice.
Thank you.
Let's think about that for sure. Anything else? Okay. Peace be with
Did
you.
you want to add anything about the bark party? We saw Zeus in the recorded video. I mean, you have
Zeus
some
is the
special
mascot.
behind-the-scene details that you can share?
No behind-the-scenes details for the community bark party. I had I had Zeus do a commercial with me, and it was, I'm very, very thankful and lucky to have an incredible pup like him. But on other news, we are coming closer to finalizing details on our splash pad equipment for Discovery Park. That'll be coming in next spring. So that
In the dog park.
yeah, so that hasn't stopped. We're still spinning the wheels on that and grinding the gears on that. But as far as the bark party, I am as surprised as any as to what will actually be there.
Okay.
Well, the first year is always a surprise for all of us. The one other thing, at the Discovery Park grand opening, which was gangbusters, we had a little contest. We asked little kids to suggest a name for the splash pad bear, the big brown bear, and we had so many cute ones. We decided on Huckleberry, Hucklebeary, Huckleberry. So if you have to refer to the splash pad bear, his name is Huckleberry. His or her name is Huckleberry.
I love it.
Thank you,
Thank
Shelley.
you. All right, on to new business. Our first item, the South Meridian YMCA Aquatic Center update by Mr. David Duro and Catherine Hunter. So welcome.
Well, thank you, Madam President, Commissioners. It's great to be here on your agenda tonight, so thank you for the time to share with you some exciting news. Before I share any news, though, I just wanted to take a minute and to thank you for the partnership that we have with the City of Meridian, and in particular, I'd like to call out staff member Steve Sidaway and Garrett. They've been great for us to work with, and day-to-day, on the ground, working, trying to make the difference that we're trying to make jointly. It's been really super. So wanted to make sure and take a chance to pass along some accolades. So tomorrow is a great day. We are finally putting a shovel in the ground and breaking ground on the South Meridian Aquatic Center and Thrive Autism and Inclusion Activity Center. So you're all invited. We hope you'll be there, 10 a.m., and we've got some invitations to pass out. And the really fun part is we are starting the building of this building. But I think it sells us short if we're talking about, a building instead of what we're really building. Because in that facility, the intent is to build thriving youth, right? Those that are going to succeed in school, in career, and in life. And the pool and the activity center is just part of what's going to help us do that. So we're building youth, and we're building healthy adults who can take control of their own health journey and make a difference and be more productive both at work and play. So that's what we think we're about building. And we're building stronger families because we're giving a wholesome and fun place for families to come together and to recreate and enjoy one another, and for little ones to show off to parents, and sometimes for parents to show off to little ones, but just spend quality time together. And then finally, what we think we're building is a stronger community. Because of our commitment that no one's turned away due to inability to pay, ever, we can throw our doors wide open, and what we're building, the Y and the pool there, is truly a community asset. So I'm really proud that it's located in Meridian. We've got a couple in Boise. We've got one in Caldwell. We really want to have one in Nampa, which is my hometown. That's just my own bias, I guess, is to get a Y in the hometown. So anyway, thank you again. We're excited for tomorrow, and I just wanted to share just a little bit about, because of those are the things that we're building, we look at the pool and we know that our purpose is much deeper than a pool. And what will happen there, the things that will incur, the life-changing activities that will happen, the thinking about a pool just doesn't do those justice. And so a moment around that is, how do pools make a difference? Well, one of the ways they do is with swim lessons. And so you'll remember 2 summers ago, we lost a brand new American who drowned in Quinn's Pond. And, we were appalled at that, knowing that this young man had spent 10 years in a refugee camp in the Congo, the Republic of Congo, and survived that experience and was here in our own Treasure Valley and wasn't here longer than 2 weeks until he drowned in the pond. And so we know drowning is a real risk for our young people. We want to address that. And so we started a partnership with a number of others on RISE, which is Refugees in Swim Education, going out to in our pools and in apartment pools to teach kids how to stay safe in the water. And I'll tell you that they're not all churning out Olympic swimmers. That's not our intent. but we want them, once they're in the water, to be able to right themselves, get back to the surface, and return to the edge. So this has been really great. The year after he drowned, we had his younger brother in the swim lesson program. And I can't tell you how thankful the mom was that her younger son was learning water safety after losing her older son. So swim lessons are really important. They're only part of what we're going to do, but drowning, we lead the nation. We're always in the top 1 to 3 states in the nation for number of drownings per capita. It's the second leading cause of death for children under 18, and we've got the cure. You know, we can teach kids how to be safe. So if you're in formal swim lessons, you can reduce that risk by 88%. So it's a good activity. It's something that we think every child ought to learn how to swim, no matter what their background is, and we're going to be able to help with that in our joint South Meridian YMCA Aquatic Center. So there's a number of different activities that will be there. High school swim teams will be there. Rehab will be there. We'll be able to do much with the senior population, which is much larger in that portion of Meridian than we thought it was until we started providing classes there. So we're very excited about that. So with that, that's just a little bit of a setup, and then I wanted to turn it over to Catherine Hunter, who's a executive assistant and project manager on this project, and she's been leading this forward. So I wanted her to give you the more accurate details about what's really happening.
Thank you so
Thanks.
much. I appreciate it.
Hi, everybody. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having us tonight. So I'm thrilled to be the project manager for the construction of our aquatic center. And so we have divided this into 2 phases. The South Meridian YMCA has been open for a little more than a year, and it is very well loved and has grown in a much larger rate than we were expecting, and we were expecting it to grow in a quick rate to begin with anyway. So we have over almost 10,000 members there already, and so when we started this project, we decided to turn it into 2 phases. So the first phase will be an expanded weight room, because we have found that the weight room is very well used. And so we will have an expanded weight room and the Thrive Autism and Inclusion Center, which I'll talk more about that in a moment. And then the second phase, which will start in October, will be the Aquatic Center, and where the current weight room is, that will become a new locker room. So my little graphic here shows you the 2 phases. Phase 1, construction, like David said, started this morning, and it was very thrilling for me to be out there watching the top level of sod come off in this area today. And then phase 2 in the purple will be the aquatic center. Phase 1 with the weight room is going to be almost double the size of the current weight room. It has all the wonderful new equipment, lots of flexible training space, so you could go there with your warrior ropes, or we would have a warrior rope there, or perhaps one of those large tires that you heave over to turn over. So we're excited to bring some new equipment and space for the weight room. The next space down is a flexible space, and it will be for yoga, and we also will have TRX bars in there. And the great thing about the flex space is that it will have equipment for high sensory autism programming in there. So people can come in there, and it will be great for them to be in a high sensory space. The bottom section you'll see toward the bottom of the page is the low sensory space, and this is called the Thrive Room. Thrive is an acronym: Together Helping Reach Inclusive Victories Every Day. So this will be the low sensory space, and it will have special equipment and pieces needed for anybody to be there, but especially for kids who are on the autism spectrum. So then the phase 2 is the aquatic center, which will start construction in October. And you'll see the locker room to the right. That is the size of the current weight room, you'll notice, as if you've been to the South Meridian Y. So it will be transformed into this new locker room space, which will be for all members and guests to use, but it will be primarily used for competition swimmers who come to the South Meridian Y. As I'm sure you know, swimming is now a sanctioned sport, and from what we understand, finding lanes for swimmers to practice and compete is a challenge. So we've heard from lots of competitive swimmers that they're very excited for these great 6 lanes of swimming to be there. We are building a state-of-the-art aquatic center, and we have this great new system that takes the chloramines off of the top layer of the water and pulls it down into the gutters. So when you would walk into an aquatic center and smell the chlorine smell, our aquatic center will not have that smell because of this new state-of-the-art filtration system that we're putting in there. So the middle section is the recreation area. It has room for swimming lessons and 2 lanes of lap swimming. My personal favorite part of that is the lazy river. That is going to be a great place for you and your best friend to walk and talk around there and not get your hair wet, but also get your exercise. So then the bottom part is the kiddie pool that starts at a 0 degree or 0 inch depth. It's great for people in a wheelchair to go into the water, and they can go as far in as they'd like. And then out, you'll see the great slide that starts, you climb up to the very top, and then you do this great curly Q slide that is outside of the building and cantilevered out, and then you come back in and the deceleration slide. The great thing about the deceleration slide is that you come in with just a few inches of water, and so you don't need to have a lifeguard stationed right there to watch people because there's not too much of a risk of drowning. A lifeguard will be there, but we created this specially so that for efficiency of our guard usage. And then you'll see the splash pad to the left. We're really excited about that because it will have a gate on the side that faces Hillsdale Park. And so we can open the gate door there and have a community event in the splash pad. And in keeping with our great partnership with all of our partners, but with the Parks and Rec Department, we're excited to welcome members of the community into that splash pad area and also into our aquatic center. Here's a rendering of the aquatic center. Very excited. In the kiddie pool that's on the left-hand side, there's a water table for all youth to use, and then they have a Super Soaker 3. So, outside in the splash pad is the Super Soaker 2. And then you'll see the rec pool on the right-hand side with a climbing wall, and off the screen a little bit is the basketball hoops there too. Here's a rendering of the splash pad and the Super Soaker 2. And again. So to date, we have raised $12.9 million, and we are still a little bit short of our fundraising goal, but we are actively working to fulfill the last portion needed. On July 25th, we launched our community campaign, which has a goal of $150,000. And David brought some cards that have that information in there if you're interested. Together Treasure Valley is matching the first $50,000 of that is raised. And then again, we'd like to invite you tomorrow at 10 o'clock to our groundbreaking. We're very excited for this day we've all been waiting for a long time. We'd love to entertain any questions if you have some.
I have a question for you. I had to take a picture because I hadn't seen the markup of exactly what was coming in the aquatic. I've been following the news online pretty closely because I'm so excited about this pool and it's coming, the whole aquatic center.
We are too.
But my question is with the splash pad outside and that whole build-on, what is the distance from that to the playground currently, like the park playground?
To
Is that-
Hillsdale?
Yeah, once that's all built out, the actual park playground to the entrance that you have on the map into
It's
the,
very close. The splash pad goes almost to the back driveway that we use for garbage collection, or is that area that people can access the back of our building and the back of Hillsdale Elementary also. And then it's just, I would say, 50 feet, 100 feet.
that's
It's
fine. I
close.
just was thinking like an estimate, because I know with currently the grass, it can kind of seem more, farther, but
Farther.
then once everything's built out, I just didn't know.
Yes. So tomorrow, where the groundbreaking will be, is on the back of the YMCA, and that will be the current, or will be the future aquatic center. So you can, when you come tomorrow, you can get a better sense of how big it is and
thank
how
you.
big 20,000 square feet is, because it will encompass the entire grass area where we are.
Thank
Yes.
you. Is there any other questions or concerns from other commissioners? Well, we really appreciate you coming, giving this information. We're so excited for this, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful asset to our community, and we really appreciate all your hard work and
Thank you.
dedication. So thank you so much.
Thanks. Thank you for having us. Bye-bye.
I know, I can't. I need to be in that pool. No, I had to give my phone because I was trying to get a picture. All right, well, that was a wonderful update. Next up, we have Meridian Home Court with Mr. Garrett White. Are you going to be debuting a new pool coming?
I know, that was a tough one to follow, wasn't it?
is.
I mean, new pool, already raised almost 13 million, wow. All right, well, first of all, thank you for having me tonight. I'm gonna give you a quick home court update. As you can probably figure out, I've been wearing a couple hats the last couple weeks. So Jake Garrow, who is the new home court facility manager, is on vacation in Spain. So I will be giving the update on home court today. To start with, obviously the staffing, just want to make sure everybody knew what was going on. Jake Garrow is still over, or going to be over the home court as a new facility manager. We're currently budgeted for the 1 full-time site supervisor and 6 part-time staff. So you can kind of see there who they are. It's Colton Gammy, Tyler Hoffer, Devor Hekel, and Bo Stevens, and Devin Hatch. And we are currently advertising right now and accepting applications for the 6th person on there. So the projects, the big project is the renovation project. The renovation project consists of the restrooms, front office, a new office, hallway access between Bay 5 and the courts, and new flooring and all the above in Bay 5. So if you guys can see these pictures I put on here, the top one there is when they first started framing stuff. So that's actually the 5th one in line here. So if you look from the left to the right, it's kind of how they started ripping all the walls out. You can kind of see where the showers used to be. And then they tore up a bunch of the flooring, the concrete, started putting in all the new plumbing in underneath. They get ready to start putting all the new plumbing in, lay concrete, and then once they started doing that, they started framing the other side too. At the top picture there is kind of the frame is the walls are already up and done. That's from looking out from the new front counter desk area. So you kind of see that the angled wall there potentially. Right now, I haven't been able to get in there and take actually updated pictures, to be honest. In the last couple weeks, it has been flying through and it's just happening fast. They have all the drywall, tape, texture, paint, all that stuff going on right now. All the restrooms, I've got all the fixtures in there, the partitions. It's coming along pretty fast with that. So going to the next one. We actually have 4 family restrooms. So the whole project went from 9 total fixtures in the building to 18. So we have 7 fixtures in the women's now compared to the 5 it was last time. And we have 7 in the men's now compared to the 2 toilets and 2 urinals it had. So now it has 4 toilets and 3 urinals. It also flows a little bit better. It's a little bit bigger than it was before. So you can walk in there and actually not rub shoulders with people as you walk through go into the restroom. The 4 family restrooms, 2 of them are ADA compliant. The other 2 are very close to ADA compliant. We couldn't get all 4 of them in there ADA compliant because of the spacing that we had, and we used the same bones, for lack of better words, for that structure there. But per code, we needed 2. We got 2. 2 of the family restrooms are accessible from Bay 5, that area. The other 2 accessible from the court area. 1 ADA on one side, 1 ADA on the other side, if that makes any sense. We've made all the restrooms, we'll say ADA compliant, for lack of better words there, with exception of the 2. The only thing that's stopping it from being ADA compliant is the showers and the controls and where the showers are on the controls. Otherwise, there's plenty of space to turn around in there, all meets up to code. That's the only thing that we can't say it's not ADA compliant because of that one minor thing, but everything else is there, has all the bars that we need, everything, taped the right heights and everything. So in here, you can kind of see these pictures here. We went with the blue and the reddish color. It's tough to see from the camera that we took, but just to kind of give it some color in there, to kind of make it a little lively when you go in there. The 2 restrooms that are not, the family restrooms that are not ADA compliant will have baby changing stations. If we put baby changing station in the other ones, because of the spacing issue, it wouldn't be ADA compliant. So we want to obviously make sure they're all ADA compliant per code and everything else. So the main women's and main men's restroom will have baby changing stations as well. So we'll have 4 baby changing stations in all. I remember last year I was here, and I believe Councilmember Dom was asking about hand sensors and stuff like that with different things, and that should be happening with all of our paper towel dispensers, soap dispensers, all the above in there too. So with that, so that's coming. So on our parks tour, when we stop by there, you guys have to check it out. Moving on to the next one. This is kind of the floor
Mr. White,
plan.
I think we have a question.
Oh, I'm
from-
sorry. Go ahead.
Madam President, Garrett, I really appreciate that, and I found out that I'm not. I'm one of several kind of the germaphobe types in our area, and it's important when it comes to making sure all our community members are healthy and not spreading germs and getting sick, and nobody likes to do that. And so it's really, really appreciated that we're putting that emphasis on proper hygiene on that.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you. So on the next slide here, this is kind of the outline of it, if you can see it. And I put this on there just to kind of show what we're going to do in Bay 5. And in Bay 5, it's going to be mainly for community ed classes. But we want multi-purpose flooring in there. So right now, the plan is, and you'll see in my next couple slides here, to have the martial arts classes, the dance classes of all ages, the line dance classes, and just different community ed classes for all ages in there. But on top of that, you guys obviously know that pickleball is very popular. So we wanted to make sure there's room in there to put down, we'll say 2 pickleball courts and 1 volleyball court. So when it's not being used for community classes, we wanted to make sure it's accessible for any other program we wanted to do recreation-wise. So the holes and sleeves in the ground are already there for volleyball. So we're obviously going to put volleyball in there. Pickleball is pretty simple. We wheel our, if you're familiar with the home court and what we have, all our pickleball nets are on wheels, easy, accessible, move them where you want to. You lock them down, they're set and ready to go. So we wanted that in there as well. We didn't want the whole floor to be kind of a spaghetti bowl and lines and stuff. So that's really the only lines that are going to be in there. What's nice is those lines can also be used for the dance classes and for the martial arts classes and things, for spacing and those things. So that'll be nice to have in there. The shadow area there, you kind of see up towards the top of the screen or top of the building there, which is actually the west side of the building, is polished concrete. Easy maintenance, easy to use with that. And it kind of ties that into the hallway access there is polished concrete. All the restrooms are polished concrete, mainly because that building is used, according to our public works guys and the guys that building maintenance, that's one of our busiest and most used buildings when it comes to toiletries and people in and out. We're averaging about 400 to 500 people in the wintertime, in and out every day. It's a lot of people using restrooms and using the facilities. So we wanted stuff that's low maintenance, that looks good, that's going to be sharp and last. So that's really, it's looking pretty sharp already in there with that. So in the back there, towards the east side of the building in Bay 5, we need storage area. Obviously, we got volleyball equipment, martial arts equipment that's going to be in there, community class equipment. So we wanted some big storage space back there. And back there, it's kind of a unique area because we can't really cut out the red spot because that's all of our mechanical, all of our plumbing and electrical comes in the building. So we're looking at making that as well as storage with an 8-foot wall there that'll kind of barrier for people so they can't get through there. This is kind of what Bay 5 is going to look like. I just mentioned it's multi-purpose flooring with a moisture barrier. Just as an update on the moisture issue we had last year, we've got the insurance claim all taken care of, everything else, and we've moved that money and received that money from our insurance claim, put into this project where we can get that done all at once and not have to worry about it again. So with that, multi-purpose flooring is going to come with a moisture barrier of some kind. We're talking about with that with our Kreisenbeck Construction, who's helping us with the project. We have storage space, office space, and you can see here where I framed the kind of picture there in the middle. That's where Jake's new office will be in there, and that's basically about 10, 11 feet wide, and it goes probably about, I don't know, I think 18 feet. So it's a pretty good sized little office in there that we could really house 2 or 3 people in there if need be. It'd be a little crowded with 2 people in would be good. In Bay 5, like I mentioned before, storage space, office space, volleyball, pickleball, and the community day classes. We've already had, before we started the project in Bay 5, we've had our line dance class over there. It's getting too big for the current community center we have over here. We moved them over there with the understanding, like, hey, understand we're gonna start doing Bay 5 renovations here pretty soon, but they were like all about it, moved over there and loved it. Thought it was great, so they didn't want to move back during the project, so we moved them over into the court one, the very far north end of the building. And they've been over there doing the adult line dance, anywhere between 25 to 40 people in there doing that class. So it's actually a pretty popular class every Sunday from 4:30 to 5:30 and 5:30 to 6:30 if you're interested. But we also have a lot of interest with our current martial arts classes. They're just outgrowing our space over there at the small community center. So we want to move them over there as well as add more programs. We've also had the Amazing Athletes program over there. And Amazing Athletes is 3 to 6 year olds that aren't, or 3 to 5 year olds that aren't in the school yet, but they come out and there's people that teach in different sports, come out, get their wiggles out, that type of thing in there, just in sports and running around. So it's a lot of fun. It's actually pretty fun to watch them run around in there. Also part of this is our condensation and humidity improvements. When we first purchased the building from the YMCA, there's 30 purlins, we'll say, that run south to north in that building. It goes all the way in as part of the roof. The roof is a 3-piece roof. So Commissioner Joe, you might know more about this than I do here, but a 3-piece roof goes together. Where it was hooked together in the 2 spots, the purlin didn't have any moisture barrier on there. So where it's freezing outside, hot inside, we had a condensation issue. We had lots of drips. So we were able to repair that. We repaired that in the first month or 2 of us owning the building, and it's helped dramatically. But also in there, we had just random drips when it was freezing outside, heavy use in there. We had up to 9 drips just wherever we had drips. And the majority of them are on the high side of the building. So we're able to put 8 zoo fans in, and 8 zoo fans, and they're also called like air pairs or whatever. It's just getting air, that stagnant air, pushed down and circulates and gets your building kind of a more even temperature throughout the whole building. We installed 8. We went from 9 drips to 1, which is a pretty big difference. Well, the whole, talking to different engineers, architects, and all the above, the whole building called for 16 zoo fans. So with this project, we're able to add the additional 8 zoo fans to make 16, and knock on wood, but we haven't had a drip yet. So it's been pretty good so far. On doing that, I also went and took a course with Climatech, our HVAC consultant, or HVAC group that we work with, and learned how to adjust HVAC stuff. And I know just enough to be dangerous and change temperatures in there now, but I'm able to adjust things to help out with not only energy, savings and stuff like that, but to help with this condensation, bringing outside air in and inside air out, that type of thing, to kind of help balance that with the condensation issue. That's helped quite a bit. And then I mentioned the purlin wraps. There on the side, you can see we had 1 drip this last year, and we're like, man, what is this? Is it from an HVAC unit? What's going on? Because it's very close to it. Went up there and kind of pulled back some of the insulation back there, and you can see the condensation drips that we were having there. So, like I said, the additional 8 zoo fans has helped dramatically, and some of the adjustments in HVAC has helped dramatically. So we're hoping in another couple months we'll see when it starts freezing outside how it goes. But we're very hopeful on that. The annual floor resurfacing project, that's actually happening right now. These are pictures from last year. They wouldn't let me in there to take pictures of it this morning. I was hoping to, but it's really just a bunch of scratched up stuff. And Hicks Brothers Hardwood Floors are doing it right now. Last year we sanded down to the wood, redid all the lines, all the above, because based on the use and age of the floor, you have to redo it every 10, 12, 15 years, depending on use. This year is just the annual resurface that you do annually, and basically it's just to scratch the surface, you know, and then put the new finish back down and kind of get it ready to go again. And it's just a maintenance coat. That's happening right now. Otherwise, I would have pictures for you of the real restrooms, but they won't let me in there. So that's what's happening right now. So one thing that we're hopeful to be budgeted for is the curtain replacement. There's 3 curtains in the home court right now that divide the 4 courts. The lifespan on those is about 10 years. The building was open in 2006, so we're a little overdue on these. And you can kind of see some of these reasons why we want to replace them. These are kind of some of the worst pictures, but it's not just a cosmetic thing, really. It's one, these curtains, each curtain, we raise them up pretty high so the basketball, volleyball can play in there. And if we use 2 courts, 2 court reservations, it literally takes about 5 to 6 minutes for each curtain to go up. So you have a staff person stand there pushing a button and watching this thing, your finger starts hurting, you switch hands. So it takes a while for that. Not only that, but you can see, I didn't put the picture down here, but you can see on the picture on the far right, there's a aluminum bar that holds the curtain onto this other circular bar inside it. And that helps it all roll up. Those bars are popping off. We have them taped on. We have them, you know, all kinds of stuff kind of getting through it. And right now, it's going as a budget replacement. We're hopeful that it'll get passed and we'll be able to tackle that project next summer and getting all those replaced. So we're hopeful and looking pretty promising right now. Budget. So I kind of went over this with you guys before, but this is our FY18 budget, our first year of living in the home court. Our actual costs were about $260,000. Revenues were close to $200,000. You can see the difference there was almost $60,000. That was what we're subsidized over there. If you remember when we first purchased this building, we were expecting to only subsidize this building about $250,000 to $300,000 a year roughly. With some of these projects, staffing, structuring different schedules in there and getting more people to use the building, we're bringing in more revenues and things like that, and our subsidy was only $60,000. So I'm personally pretty proud of that, but I can't take all the credit because we were able to send me to an HVAC training. We were able to replace all the lights in there with LED lights, which is saving us almost $8,000 to $9,000 a year just in power and lights. Adjusting HVAC times, you know, basically when we're closed, we don't really need to keep the temperature at 70 degrees, right? We can have it go up there and not use all those energies during that time. Also the zoo fans, keeping that hot air coming down in the winter, saves us from running heat, right? Because the hot air's been pushed down, it keeps everything balanced. So again, I only know enough to be a little dangerous when it comes to HVAC stuff, but it does help in the big scheme of it. So this year, as of July 10th, and I did this a while ago, obviously July 10th, our actual cost as of then was, you know, about 186. Total revenues were a little above that, obviously. So we were actually almost $3,000 looking good, right? Well, we have a lot more bills to pay. Don't get me wrong. We have the floor resurfacing projects, some roof repairs that we're getting ready to do, our maintenance stuff that we're doing with the roof, some HVAC maintenance and stuff like that. It just yearly, that just looked good because it was in July, right? So towards the end of the year, we start really doing that maintenance stuff, and that's when it's scheduled. So this next year, or the end of this year, we're expected to be right around $55,000 to $60,000 subsidy again, compared to the $250,000 to $300,000. So we're actually doing pretty well when it comes to the subsidy on that. My goal is to have that subsidy go down every year. Well, now it'll be Jake's new goal, but that's what we really want to do. So keep that going. Just real quick, I already mentioned some of our city programs that were offered in there. Open gym, pickleball classes, morning pickleball, noon ball, line dance, amazing athletes, things like that. I wanted to make sure I mentioned some of the users that we have in there too, is just the general public and our noon ball stuff. You go in there on a Sunday right now, Sundays are our busiest days. And you go in there, I was just in there on this last Sunday, getting ready for the floor resurfacing project to get everything out of there when we closed. And I got there an hour and a half early just to see what was going on in there and see what was happening. There was at least 70 people I counted in there. So it was pretty big, and you only have 4 courts, and then there was 2 basketball games going, there was people playing volleyball, and there was a couple people playing pickleball. You know, so it was just neat to see different groups using it. But on top of that, just the noon ball crowd, the pickleballers, basketball club teams, volleyball club teams. We actually have homeschool people coming and using the facilities like kind of their PE and getting stuff out in the winter. Adult line dance and pickleball class, like I mentioned before. With that, I will stand for questions if you have any. A lot of information, kind of, real quick.
All right, I got a little bit confused about the bathrooms. So
Okay,
run
fire
back
away.
to there real quick.
Sure.
So the ADA compliant access is available in the women's and then the men's rooms, but not in the family room? Is that, or?
Yeah, so I don't know
But
if I
you
can see
said
the
that then
mouse
there's
here.
baby changers in
Yes,
each
so,
of the individual?
so in the men's and the women's, there's one baby changing station in each one of those. In the family restrooms, there's 4 here. The first one here, I don't know if you can see my mouse, if it's moving, can you guys see that, or am I just me? Okay. That one right there is the one that is ADA compliant and will not have a baby changing station table.
Okay.
The one next to it, little, where am I at there, my mouse one, this one, will have a baby changing station in it with that.
That's
Yeah.
what I was trying to
And-
just verify that there are family restrooms with.
Yeah, and they mirror each other on the side, so yeah, so, and each of the family restrooms have showers in there too. So there'll be a shower, toilet, sink in there, and then, like I said, the only difference is, the one reason why the 2 are not ADA compliant, or legally ADA compliant, is because the controls, when you go into the restroom for the showers, when you turn it on, turn it off, if you slide off your chair into the shower chair, the controls are to your back, not in front. And the reason why we couldn't do that is because of the wall depth. You couldn't get all the pipes in there, if that makes any sense. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I was just getting a little confused. I know you said with these they will, with these they won't, and it kind of
Yes,
just
yeah.
thought, I'm not
Yeah.
100% sure on what you're saying,
Yeah.
but
So we're all up to code when it comes to
We're all
ADA
up to code.
compliant. We just had the 2 family restrooms. Our ultimate goal was to have all 4 family restrooms ADA compliant. But just we're literally like an inch off.
the 2 that are ADA compliant do have baby changers.
No,
They're, okay.
just the 2 that are not ADA compliant have baby
Baby
changers.
Okay.
Yeah. If we were to put baby changing stations in the ADA ones, they wouldn't be considered ADA compliant because there is literally about 2 inches difference to get into the shower. There's a clearance difference there.
So, but if you needed an ADA accessibility and to change a baby, you would just have to go into
Into the main
women's.
restrooms.
Okay.
Yep, the main restrooms, yeah. All of them are ADA compliant.
So
with
you would
baby.
take a shower in the family
Yep.
and then change the baby in the, okay. Just wanted to know the plan for that. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Good question.
Are there any other questions or concerns from anyone?
Madam President.
Oh, Commissioner Gelsomino?
Garrett, you may have mentioned it, but I'm probably the sketch here is a little bit small for me to see, but are
Sure.
the entrances to the restrooms kind of like how you would see at a movie theater where it's doorless, you just go down the hall and into the bathroom, or are they just regular swing?
Good question. They actually have doors. They
They do,
do.
okay.
So, yeah, in the male and female restrooms, they open in. To make the other 4 family restrooms more ADA compliant, or give us room to make the 2 ADA compliant, they swing out. If that makes any sense. Yeah, it's the depth and the size and the bones that we had to work with that. So in between those 2 little restrooms, yeah.
You read my mind. You have to touch them. That's the
Yeah. Yes.
Will they have the automated buttons?
They don't.
Oh,
They don't.
you're gonna have to open the door.
Yeah.
I use my foot.
You
You
would
can't-
want a door between the restrooms and that open space.
Yeah.
The what I had thought in mind was the design was how, if you've ever been to the Majestic, you kind of,
Yeah.
Yeah, so you wouldn't have to just walk around
Right.
yeah. This one's not. It's all spacing, really. If we had another 4 or 5 feet to go onto the hardwood floors to go that way, obviously we could make it a lot more roomy like that. This is a structure we had to work with and what we had to work with, so yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. There is, one thing I didn't mention, is there was a little bit of, we'll say, space in between the family restrooms that we ended up making small maintenance closets. Right now, all the maintenance stuff is carried upstairs and stored upstairs above the restrooms. Well, the janitorial staff's there by themselves at night. So we wanted something to be downstairs so they're not carrying big boxes of toilet paper upstairs and limit the risk of somebody falling down the stairs over packing those boxes. So we have small maintenance closets in there as well.
Madam President, did you ask already, because I probably caught it on the side there, that you asked if there was the automated opening door?
Yes, and he said no.
There's
No, not even for the
no.
ADA, okay.
No, not even moving in those.
I saw you potentially using your foot for that.
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking in the matter of for wheelchair accessible,
Right.
you know,
Yep.
since the doors swing out.
Yeah. No, we do not have those, but they are up to code and what's called for.
You just have to have 18 inches on the pole side.
I'm sorry.
You have to have 18 inches on the pole side from the operable side.
See, she knows
Sorry.
way more than I do, Brian.
Push-pull.
Well, any other questions for me? I'll get to talk to you guys in a minute about staff reports, but.
All right.
All right, thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Old business. 5 Mile Creek Pathway Trailhead at 10 Mile update with Ms. Kim Warren.
Welcome back.
Yes, you look very excited to be here.
Madam President and Commissioners, it is good to be back and to see you all and to meet new members. So I'm here to give you updates on a couple of our pathway amenities, pathway projects. This I'm calling the 10 Mile Trail Hub. I think it sounds a little more urban, a little more interesting. But it's on the 5 Mile Creek pathway, so it can be a little bit confusing, 10 mile, 5 mile. Yeah, it looks so urban, I know. So that's what, well, you know, when the roadway gets wider, as opposed to a trailhead where you think, you know, I'm backpacking and it's very undeveloped, so we can talk, Craig. Yeah, you're doing no improvements, it's no. So to give you some context, there's a Pathways map excerpt. 10 Mile Road is being widened between Ustick and McMillan Roads. Most of you are aware of this. We did a cost share with ACHD to piggyback on some of their improvements and get a better price. So there's also an aerial that shows 10 Mile Road looking north with the trailhead site, Trail Hub. There's an inconsistency highlighted there. And then it also shows how the crossing will work for the 5 Mile pathway. A little more detail on that in just a minute. So in terms of project timeline, we are dovetailing our planning and our improvements with ACHD because of the cost share situation. So we are pretty much, they're through roadway design, and we have been working with them to do the parking lot design, pardon me, and then infrastructure like utility stubs, one light. It's pretty minimal, but that had to happen before we could go ahead and do our site design. We're doing that while ACHD is procuring right-of-way, and then they will construct in 2020, and then we will, during that time, they'll construct our Trail Hub parking lot, and then we will bid the trailhead amenities, which is everything else, and more of the fun stuff. So the roadway project should be completed in 21, and then at that time, we'll construct our amenities after the parking lot's done. So it's a little 1-2. So in terms of the crossing, this is an ACHD diagram, amended somewhat. In orange is the 5 Mile Creek pathway. The wastewater resource recovery center is over here, the Idaho Power substation, then we have Bridge Tower neighborhood, and off here, Rita Husky Park. So the 5 Mile pathway does go by Rita Husky Park, and then it will head to the south just a bit. We, as part of our cost share, we got this pedestrian bridge, an expanded pedestrian bridge. It actually ended up being 14 feet wide, which was a little wider than we asked, and we didn't have to pay for it. It's just how that worked out with the diagonal culvert over 5 Mile Creek. So our Trail Hub site is down here. So the pathway is up here, and then we have a strong connection down to parking and other amenities to the south. I think you've seen this diagram, most of you. In terms of a concept, I'll just do a quick overview. We had the idea, this could be a gateway to the pathway system, it could be visible, promote image, and it would have some amenities like parking, water, shade, a place to repair your bikes, and then signage and art could help enhance the identity of the pathway system, kind of let people know that it's here, just because it's not very visible from roadways. And other ideas was that we're or that we would locate or provide a location for a future restroom. That will happen, we hope, at some point. And then work to have a relatively low-impact landscape, and there's some other accesses we need to accommodate for ACHD and Nampa Meridian. So this was a little bit of an odd project because of the cost share factor. I realized that if we were to tell them, if they were going to build a parking lot, we wanted to know what the rest of the site was going to look like before they came in and actually built it, so that we knew it was something we could work with. So because I'm a sketchy landscape architect type, I did go through and do a concept just to kind of make all the elements work. And if you recall, originally we talked about this serpentine walk that went down the center of the parking lot that might funnel people onto the pathway system. We loved the idea as kind of an intrinsic, not very arty art, but the idea of the beginning of the system. And in the end, we just couldn't work that out with the cost share. It was just tricky, and I think had we been constructing it all as part of, had we been doing the element in the middle as part of an entire site project, we could have worked out the design, but since that was isolated as a separate element with ACHD, it just in the end was more straightforward and cost-effective to let them do parking. And then we had the idea that here in this sort of overlaid concept that we could still use that sinuous sidewalk idea. It would just be in the trailhead park itself. So, and there were a couple of access consideration changes. So we gave that to a landscape architectural design consultant, and they came back with something that looks a little different, but we think works pretty well with a central area that would have art and gathering. One thing we really liked about the concept was this idea of movable seating, I guess. They have used in the past columnar basalt for benches, and so they bring these big rocks in, and they can be positioned, I mean, obviously they're big enough that they don't get carried away, but they are movable. So if we reconfigure this plaza later, when we perhaps do build a restroom, that works. They also talked about a surface that might be more of a decomposed granite, something that's accessible but not paved. Again, thinking that we'll do future improvements to that area, and it might be a more inexpensive repair. So this was the concept they came back with, and then we gave them a few, in this case, green line comments to add a little bit more usable lawn area. I think we're trying to strike a balance between making it look like a city park, a green space that catches your attention, but also not use too much water, not do anything too landscape intensive. In terms of landscape, we do want to screen the ACHD stormwater basin. It's not too pretty. So we're proposing a dry land seed mix around the perimeter, but just turf grass that will be green along the roadway. And then in an area where if we did have a bicycle race or a road race or some sort of event, we could bring in some tents and have a place to gather and have some usable ground space. Oh, the other thing that we suggested they do, there is an ACHD access to the north. So the creek disappeared on this copy. It's kind of up here. But ACHD occasionally will need to access this facility. And so there will be a gravel road, just compacted gravel. But the discussion was to have a softer edge. So where the grass hits that roadway, it kind of has a curve to it. It doesn't look like such a hard line, and it's just a little softer, but it is otherwise wide enough and rated for the kind of vehicular traffic they'll need. And then there were some other details, some rock mulch that, we just simplified and changed a bit. So we're in the process of finalizing the design with the consultant. Our goal is to do that in time to bid the drawings this winter, even though we won't construct for a while. No, I misspoke. I'm not sure when we'll bid, but our goal is to wrap those up just for efficiency's sake this fall and get permits through ACHD. So they have their final plans pretty much done. We need to do a license agreement. This is an ACHD property, and there was quite a bit of debate. Do they sell it? Do they give it to us? Do they keep it. And so a license agreement was the final decision. So we will develop and maintain it. They will have access, and then there's a Nampa Meridian access we're also working on also. So we have an affidavit of legal interest so that we can go through and act as owner in terms of getting some of the approvals that we'll need through the City of Meridian for zoning compliance. So we'll be finalizing the plans and thinking a bit more about identity. That'll be a separate project along with art. And then we've also talked about design elements that might recur along the trail system in terms of plant palettes, colors, some of the materials and furnishings we use. So that's where we are. This is slightly more urban, I think, Commissioner Steele. Actually less urban than it is now. But we don't have, none of these projects are very photogenic yet, so so I'd be glad to stand for questions at this point if anyone has any.
Only question is with the art, will it go through the same process of Meridian Arts Commission and the formal we've used in the
Yes,
past when we're
Madam
updating
President.
art for the various parks?
That's my understanding, yes, and I have been in communication with Hillary about this one, and not as much the next project I'm going to talk about, but she's aware, and I did present to the Arts and History Commission just to let them know this was coming up. So they're planning for it in terms of their funding, and we talked a bit about some of the symbolism we might use in terms of bikes, wheels, cogs, hubs. And there are a lot of opportunities there, I think, that are kind of fun. So it would be a similar kind of project to the other park art.
Thank you.
Madam President? So Kim, I have to say, given the wanting to do the sharing of cost and everything with ACHD, I actually don't mind the second drawing on elimination of the curve, the creek-like.
This messy one or the next one?
The next one. Yeah. I like your messy one too, though. Because I think it still brings in kind of that curved appeal that we're trying to get to of, really this more organic feel versus just here's my concrete, here's my sidewalk, and off we go. So I do think that's a good compromise to ensure that we continue with the cost sharing.
Oh, good. Thank you, Commissioner. I agree. And we did actually on this concept, there was a big curve here. We wondered if there'd be sort of a cut through temptation. So we made it a little more sinuous, and it does echo that form, and compromise is always kind of hard. But in this case, we just weren't very confident that we could get the product that we wanted. ACHD was certainly willing to work for us, or with us, but I wasn't sure in the end it would be much of a cost savings with all the complexity. So I think I agree with you. Thanks for your comment. Anyone else?
Thank you so much.
Okay.
And you're presenting our next item, so.
I am. So this is the Pine Avenue rest area, and really not photogenic, this one either. This is where Pine Avenue, with the new improvements, crosses to the south, and there's an ACHD parcel that has a stormwater facility. Sometimes it has water collected in it. It's fenced. There's a little bit of vacant space here that we're looking at. So Fairview, here are the railroad tracks, and Pine. So just a bit east of City Hall. Here's the H2 pathway that was completed not long after I got here, maybe in 17 or 18. And so where the H2 hits Pine Avenue, it heads along at the north, and then it crosses here, and there's this parcel of land that isn't too big, but we think it's big enough for some amenities, just a stopping place, an abbreviated kind of trailhead, but with similar elements. Here's another sort of messy sketch. I'm thinking we might continue the sinuous pathway idea, have a gathering space to get off the pathway. There'd be trash receptacles. We have the luck of having this control, I think it's a control box for the pedestrian beacon, and it's white and square, and it's right there as you cross. It just meets you. So one of our conversations with Hillary has been to wrap that, but maybe wrap it in something that's more like signage that identifies it and or gives direction. So it's a little different than some of our art wraps. But this was kind of the initial idea that shade would be important. This concept actually screens the stormwater basin, and we've changed that a bit. ACHD needs to maintain an access so they can maintain this facility. There's a gate here. So those were some original ideas that we gave to the consultant. We got a couple of concepts back. One was pretty rectilinear, and we liked this softer, rounder concept better. And the idea was to have a shade structure. This is a prefabricated structure that could set the radius for this plaza space, and then have a low seat wall around the edges so that traffic could come in and rest and have that seating be on the wall, possibly an art element here. Again, we've got our sign that we would wrap. This doesn't show a lot of detail in terms of site furnishings, but bike repair stations, and then a more natural approach to planting. We met with ACHD, well, actually Mike did while I was gone, and they have a PhD botanist who's doing a planting plan for this basin that's a little bit more reclamation oriented. So we've agreed to continue with that palette up into our site. And we do have a few changes for the consultant. So I had a hard time finding a good picture, but kind of an example of the curved shade structure that would be there. There'd be a wall behind it for seating. We wanted to take out a few trees and provide some visibility into the space, keep a little bit of manicured lawn, again, to claim it as a park, but also we could see it as the kind of space where you'd ride off the pathway and maybe just drop your bike or flop down, or you weren't going to stay long and you could keep an eye on it. And then some plantings just to reinforce that edge. I have this Meridian sign here because it seemed an example of a vertical sign where it might have pathway information, but it also might provide late day shade. When there isn't a lot of shade, sometimes people will stand in the shade of power poles, and I think actually a good sign could be part of that solution and provide information at the same time. A little bit, so some trees for shade, the structure for shade, and then a slightly reduced space in here. So the budget for this project is $25,000. It's pretty minimal. The property is owned by ACHD, so we will do a similar thing to the trailhead. We'll develop and maintain, and we'll have a license agreement. I spoke about the planting design. That's a plus, I think. And then in terms of timeline, we're just finishing up design details now. We'll do construction documents and bidding. And also, we need those documents to get the license agreement. So ACHD approvals, our strategy is to bid these projects just as the construction season ends, because they're little and they're important to us, but they're not necessarily as appealing to contractors, just on account of scale. So we try to be strategic and hit that bid window, and then would construct in the spring or as weather permits, in little windows here and there. So another beautiful picture of that location. And we haven't really talked about this one as much. It's kind of been on my list for a while, and it's moved forward. I would be happy to entertain any questions.
Madam President. Oh, go ahead, Commissioner.
Madam President. So Kim, you mentioned that the ACHD has a botanist working on a planting plan. What is their timeline for planting in the area, or are they just wanting you to try and adhere to what they're trying to accomplish? Are they going to do additional plantings around the area that we won't touch? How does that work?
I think they are, let me find it. They're pretty much inside the fence line.
Okay.
And so I don't know. While I was on leave, that meeting happened.
Okay.
And I assume it could proceed independently. And then if we had, there'd probably be some shrub species that like a sage or dry land, because to some degree it would be a little bit different down in the area that might collect water. We'll probably have a dry land seed mix that would be, but I think it could sort of bleed over and through the fence line, and I don't know that it would matter when it happened. I really don't know their timeline, other than that we've talked, it just wasn't me.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Commissioner Gelsomino?
Madam President, thank you. Kim, is there, Rachel, could you kindly go back to that last screen? That one, thank you.
Yeah.
On the native adapted plants to correspond in the bottom right of your sketch here, or in the, is there an opportunity for another pollinator garden? When you said sage, and I know pollinator gardens, pollen, they're still heavily allergenic plants, but I've noticed a lot of people being allergic to sage. And is there an opportunity, if the sage it isn't available or doesn't come to fruition, to have an extra pollinator garden in that section?
Commissioner Gelsomino, I do like that idea. And sage, I must say, was just an offhand, it's an indigenous kind of a plant here, so I grabbed it out of the air. I don't know what their plans are. I do like the idea of integrating some that are pollinator friendly or encouraging, and I know those are often species plant and not the fancy cultivars. So I think that's a great comment, and something that we'd have some latitude, and we could bring up with that botanist. I haven't seen a plant list yet. One more thing, if I could just mention while we're talking plants, we may keep a wall here, a seat wall. If budget doesn't permit, maybe that wall goes away. Either way, I think we could have a narrow planting bed. And having sat next to Barb Hatch, who's no longer with us, but getting a replacement Monday, often they're looking for volunteer projects that are something you can do in an afternoon. And so possibly this planting bed could be annuals, which may or may not be as pollinator friendly, but something that we could put on a list for volunteers and might be a good fit. So kind of have that in mind. It could be just all lawn too, if that isn't a useful thing, but I thought I'd mention it. Anyone else?
Madam President, I just wanted to make note how fortunate we are, Kim, in your background with your landscape architecture, to be in charge of the pathways, because you have great vision. So thank you.
I appreciate that.
It's awesome to see your sketches. I think they're fabulous.
It's a fun part of my job too, to get to doodle a bit. Awesome. Yeah, I don't miss doing it full time, but I miss doing it a little, as I'm sure you'd understand. So thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Kim. We appreciate it. Now we are on to staff reports with Mr. Garrett White, the only staff. We'll be representing all departments.
On the parks or the recreation side, as you guys all know, there's been a lot of shuffling going on. So I was writing this down, and basically I'm the new Colin, Jake is the new me, Jenna is the new Jake, Maggie's the new Tyler, and Chelsea's the new Barb. So to get all that squared away, so Jenna Fletcher just started in Jake's position last week, and Jenna came with us. She was our seasonal summer camp help, and she has a lot of experience coming from Nampa running all their stuff, camps and classes and stuff like that. So we were lucky to get her over here. So she started with Jake's position. Jake obviously started at the home court position where I was currently at, and he's on vacation until the 20th. So I'm still kind of overseeing the home court at this point. Maggie is the new Tyler, the adult sports coordinator, and she started this past Monday. So I've been with her quite a bit, several hours in the day with softball and flag football getting ready to start, basketball getting ready to start, and yeah, all that kind of stuff. And then, as Kim just mentioned, Chelsea, she is the new Barb, the new volunteer coordinator, and her first date is going to be the 26th of August. So we're wanting to get her here and hired right before, a couple weeks before the block party, to get some Renee help with volunteers prior to that. So we're excited. A lot of stuff happening when it comes to shuffling. I think everybody's chair is different, but Shelley's and Renee's in our department. So it's interesting to see how that goes. Like I mentioned, home court staffing as well. We have that position open and going. When it comes to projects, I just mentioned the home court renovation. We just got the parking lot at home court restriped as well. Phil Harris with our parks crew really helped out with that. He was the one that really kind of coordinated and did it. I just made a phone call, so I can't really take credit for that at all. And then the floor resurfacing project I mentioned before. When it comes to events and like outside events coming in, we obviously just had the Soul Food Festival at Kleiner Park, so we're debriefing with them, I believe, next Monday, just to kind of talk about things and how it went and go from there. I've heard good, positive things about it at this point. On top of that, the school district feeding program ended last week, so if you do see kids in parks that are looking for that, send them to the food bank. Jeanette Sanchez in our front office there made sure that was kind of a plan and where it was going to go, so she had that information with that. Renee is already doing block party stuff, obviously. She's got her mind on block party, trunk or treat, and we actually had a meeting, like Joe had mentioned earlier, regarding Christmas yesterday. So we're already starting to think about Christmas, and Joe may want to add to some of this, but it was mainly just kind of schedule, a little bit of our budget, sponsorships, those types of things. I had to step out a little early, like I mentioned before, but I don't know, Joe, if you wanted to mention anything else in the Christmas meeting that we had, or?
Madam President? We do have the main sponsorship open, which has not been open since I've been here. It's been Barton Lake Elon. I think that they definitely have served, I don't know how many years it's been, 5?
Close to it,
years?
yeah.
Yeah. So I know that we have some sponsorships open, but mainly the meeting was just to go over what happened last year, what was good, what was not good, which there weren't really a lot of points on that one. We have it pretty ironed out, and Renee's on top of everything. So we're just a little bit of maintenance, and I think we're missing some things from the commissioner float, is what I saw a lot of notes on. So if you guys have anything that comes up, make sure to let us know.
I mean by things need to come up for the commissioner float.
I believe the banner
was missing last year.
Yeah.
I think the generator, I saw that the generator didn't work well, the lights. So I know that there are some items on the stage, and they've been in use for a few years, that we're looking at. So I haven't discussed with Renee, maybe starting a week earlier to do the tree fluffing. Yes, that's what it's called. Just to get out the trees and maybe the float too, just to make sure that we have everything so that everyone's represented.
Thank you.
Madam President,
Commissioner Gelsomino?
do we have a theme like last year, or are we doing the Elf on the Shelf again
Oh, for the commissioner
for
float?
the commissioner float?
We typically have that on our agenda for September.
For September, okay.
But is it September, October, and we're
October.
open to any theme suggestions or ideas from commissioners or anyone present here.
The thing that makes me look silly, how's that?
That it has to
Amen.
It has to make at least one commissioner look silly. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. But no, that's always something that's discussed every year. And so if you have ideas ahead of time, coordinate those with Rachel so we can be sure to get those on the agenda for even as early as next month. In the tour, we could be talking about it if you have some ideas that you want to float across the commission.
Yeah, no, that was pretty good.
The fact that we're talking about Christmas is just like, oh my gosh.
But no, we usually just discuss and decide that when we get closer. So.
Got it.
Awesome. Well, to continue that, Renee is also, obviously, like we mentioned, working on the block party and the bark party. She's kind of excited about it. She already has 15 vendors as of right now, which is pretty good for the bark party. And she says that I need to watch Dom's video. It was mentioned before. She said it was completely, her quote was awesome, that I really need to watch it. So with that, that's Renee. Jenna is just working on summer classes and camps getting done and closing all that stuff out, and the activity guide that just got out, released last Friday. Our front office staff has been hopping with that. When it comes to sports, Ryan Johnson, who is our evening site supervisor, has been filling in for when Tyler left and when Maggie got here, and he's been doing a phenomenal job with trying to do 2 different jobs as well, and trying to split his day in 8 hours. We had the Red Eye Tournament, which is a 24-hour softball tournament where they play games around the clock, which I started that a while ago, and it's kind of crazy, but he ran that, was successful, did a great job with that. This fall in our fall softball program, we have 105 softball teams, which is from last year. We're up 23 teams from last year. And in the fall, we've never had 105. So we've always tried to cap it at 90, but with the new fields at Discovery, it's allowed us to add some on there. So with that, we're still right now in the middle of volleyball, basketball, and flag football registration that starts here in September. So Maggie has got a lot of stuff on her plate right now, and day 3 of her job. So, but like I said, Ryan, I got to give him kudos for doing a really good job while in the interim for that. With that, I'll stand for any questions, but that's what we got.
Madam President?
Commissioner Greer?
So Garrett and maybe Rachel, with all of the new staff and change of positions, are the staff members going to be at the facilities tour, or is there an opportunity for us to meet everyone?
Commissioner Greer, yeah, they right now are planning on being at that facilities tour, so you'll get to meet everybody. They typically like to stand up, or Steve has everybody stand up and kind of talk about their own programs and what's happening. So during that time, if somebody isn't there, obviously, then I would speak for them. But right now, to my understanding, everybody's planning on being there.
Oh, perfect.
Talk to
Thank you.
everybody.
Mr. Wade, has there been a game scheduled or performed at the Discovery, at the new lighted softball field? Has that been utilized yet officially?
There was,
Okay.
yes. We started the first games out there on July 29th, the first Monday after the grand opening out there. There were some small minor issues with how soft the dirt was out there when we started playing, so we haven't played out there since. We're currently working with the contractor that installed the fields to get them not so soft, we'll say, and then we'll play back out there again. Right now, our target date to play back out there is the first, right after Labor Day, that Tuesday, the 3rd or 4th of September. Right. But yeah, the fields are great. They're beautiful fields. It was just pretty soft when we went out there, so.
Madam President,
Commissioner Jensen?
did you win?
I actually didn't play out there, but probably, no.
Thank you. All right, does anyone have any other questions or concerns? Do we have any motions? To adjourn, someone?
Madam President,
Commissioner Steele?
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn tonight's meeting.
Seconded.
Commissioner Gelsomino seconds. Can I get a vote? Who all is in favor?
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
No.
Motion granted. We've adjourned this meeting. Thank you.
Be that one person that